I want to tell you about the day I realized I was going to die. I was 26 years old. I was laying in bed. I could not even get up to walk to my mailbox. I couldn't cook for myself. I was newly married, just graduated grad school, and I had just counted my 130th symptom. I had a very intricate tracker. My heart was racing at 180 beats a minute just from sitting up every single time. And I remember thinking, this is it. This is how my story ends. But here's what I didn't know then. I was wrong. Not just a little wrong, I was completely wrong. And if you're listening to this right now in the middle of your own health crisis, feeling hopeless and feeling like you've tried everything, I need you to hear what I'm about to tell you. Because the truth about healing that nobody talks about isn't what you think. Welcome to Magnetic and Medicine, the podcast where we talk about real healing, real hope, and real stories of people who refuse to stay stuck, and also practitioners and brands who are really helping this revolution of root cause medicine. I'm Allie Chandler, and whether you're a patient right now struggling with chronic illness and fighting for your life, or you're a practitioner or a brand who's trying to help patients feel not like hopeless, like there is hope to heal, this episode is for you. This podcast is for you. So today I'm going solo in our first ever episode because I just need to share something I've learned both as someone who is bedbound with Lyme disease, molds, and a whole lot of other symptoms, as you heard. But now I'm someone that helps functional medicine practitioners grow their practices. And what I've learned might make you feel uncomfortable, but it also might change everything. So here's my before of where I was before I got sick. Mine wasn't a childhood illness, a chronic thing that happened over time. It was really an overnight. I was healthy and then I wasn't. So I was a super high achiever my whole life. I played competitive volleyball. I got pretty much straight A's in high school and college. And, I've done a lot in my career as a teacher, but it just wasn't a good fit for me. I felt like there was a ceiling of what I could accomplish. There really wasn't a lot of freedom. I had to follow the curriculum. And as an Enneagram 2 Wing 3, I loved the students. I loved the relationships with other teachers and staff, but I just didn't feel like it was enough for my 3 side, my achiever side. I just couldn't do anything on my own to build my own brand. So I decided to quit. I went to Europe with a couple of girlfriends. We did a top deck tour. So we stayed, I think, maybe 10 or 11 different countries. We traveled around on a bus. We met a lot of people our age. What happened was in Amsterdam, I started having symptoms and I was feeling really just like my heart was racing. I wasn't able to think clearly. I felt like I was walking on a boat. Like my neurological system was completely off. So it felt like the ground wasn't even stable. My nervous system was messed up. Everything, digestive, cardiac, neurological, just all these things happened at once. And I was like, maybe it's something with the food, maybe it's something I ate that's making me feel this way. So the next day I got up and we were, I think, heading to Belgium. I don't remember anything about that next day because I felt like my body had completely shut down. I remember sitting in the bus going to Belgium. I know I got out and walked around. I could not tell you a single thing that happened on the rest of that trip. And so the most vivid memory for me was on our way home. We went to Ireland and we spent maybe 5 days at the end of the trip just doing our own thing. And I felt horrible the whole time. And it was just, symptom after symptom. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it back on the flight. I thought I was going to have to check into the emergency room. And it just kept multiplying. It was like, I'm not really able to move. I can't think. I feel like I just feel toxic. Like everything in my body feels wrong. And so I remember coming to in the bathroom in Dublin, and a whole group of Irish women were fanning me, giving me water, someone gave me a Nature Valley granola bar because they thought maybe it was blood sugar. And I remember going out to my friends and just crying, and I was like, I can't make it back. Like, I'm too sick. I don't know what's wrong. So we were on, I think, a Spirit flight, where they're, pushing down the aisle, like trying to sell you all this stuff. And I just was like, had my head down, trying to just survive. My friend was rubbing my back the whole time. I don't really remember anything else. So I got home. My parents picked me up. I got rushed to the emergency room. They did so many tests. They found some stuff that was wrong, but they were like, we don't really know, take these antibiotics and steroids. And I thought I was sick before, and that, like, my body was done. Like, that was too much. It completely crashed. I woke up, and the best way that I can describe it is I felt like my body was completely poisoned. Like, it just inside of me, everything felt horrible. I was, waking up profusely sweating, severe panic attacks I'd never had before, palpitations, my heart was racing all the time, digestive stuff. I couldn't really eat very well, so many other things. And so when I was about to leave for California, like a week after returning home, and I was going back and forth trying to figure out, I'm about to go to grad school in San Francisco. I was super excited. I was in a long distance relationship. My boyfriend was in Monterey, so I was, moving closer to him, going to grad school at a really good California College of the Arts, a good art school for writing. It's the life I always had wanted, but I ended up, because I'm stubborn, still going. My dad drove me out there. I couldn't drive most of the time. I remember having like really, really bad heart issues at my aunt's house. We stayed in Iowa on the way there, but I ended up doing it. And, long story short, I got through grad school. I don't know how. I was seeing doctors the whole time, trying to figure out what was actually wrong, and probably saw maybe 20 different doctors. Nobody really knew what to do with me. So if if you've experienced that, I was seeing allergists, pulmonologists. I had really severe burning in my lungs every time I moved. Like, do you know how when it's cold out and you are running and you just feel like your lungs are burning and they're tight and they hurt? I had that for about 2 years, all the time. I had done like spirometry tests, and they were like, you're 27 now and your lungs are like an 80-year-old. Like, you can't really do much with them. Just all gastroenterologists, ENTs. I had so many procedures done, so many things. But I ended up working with somebody named Trina Hammock. She's amazing. She's passed away now, but she was working with me on the trauma, the emotional side of healing. I was done with grad school. I'd somehow managed to get married. And she recommended her friend, Dr. Jay Davidson, because he worked with Lyme. She's like, has anyone checked you for Lyme? And I said, no. And, contacted them. I was so desperate at the time, and they had a wait list, and I just was like, please, like, I'll take any cancellations. I'll do anything. I don't know what to do. And, I tried a bunch of protocols and stuff on my own, tried different practitioners, everything like that. So they ended up seeing me, did a couple different Lyme tests, was positive on both. And I remember when I sat down with my doctor, he was like, this is the most co-infections I've seen on anyone's test like this. It's a DNA test, so it actually checks for the DNA of the pathogens. And so that moment for me, like having an answer and having something to work on, but then them sitting down and saying like, hey, this might take a year, this might take 2 years, it's going to be hard, you're probably going to hurt, you're going to maybe have some stuff to work through. But, years of gaslighting from physicians and well-intentioned doctors who I think just maybe weren't trained on Lyme or to look for Lyme, being told you just have anxiety, being dismissed when I went to the ER. Something I struggled with was SVT, so occasionally I would just be home and my heart rate would be like 180 to 220. I remember one time I was a half a mile away from my house at the post office dropping something off, and my partner was at work, and that happened, and I could feel it start, and it's almost like your heart gets off rhythm and then it gets stuck like that. And I remember I always wore this like we didn't have Apple Watches back then, so I wore this pulse oximeter on my finger like all the time to check my heart rate. And I remember like crying in the parking lot to strangers, "Do I need an ambulance?" Because my heart rate was 220. It was so crazy. And I was so tired after that and just took a while to calm down that I laid on the floor of my car for probably an hour and a half. I couldn't even drive a half a mile. So, brain fog. I felt like I was dying. I had no quality of life. I fell into this protocol trap where, I had tried all the right things. I tried antibiotics, herbs, detox, everything. I would see some improvements, but it was such an up and down journey for me. I would have a couple good days or like a week or two, and I'm like, okay, we're making progress. And then I would completely crash and be unable to really take care of myself. I remember at one point we were talking about hiring a nurse to be with me the 8 hours or 9 hours my husband was gone after we got married, because I just couldn't do anything. I couldn't cook. I really couldn't even shower. I had to lay in the bathtub, and even having energy to do that was difficult. And so, lots of money invested in this. I kept just asking myself, why isn't this working? What am I missing? And so, what I wanted to share with you today, the answer wasn't just another protocol. It was something that nobody is really talking about. And granted, yes, the physical protocols I did help, and they were important. But I do not believe you can heal without getting your mind, your emotional body, your spiritual body, whatever that means to you, getting all of those aligned. So this is the breakthrough that I had, and this is what nobody told me when I was searching for answers. And my whole healing journey is about 10 years long. And, it cost me a job, it cost me my marriage. There were so many things that I lost as I healed. So I wanted to share this so that anyone going through this themselves hopefully can take a shortcut and doesn't have to go through everything that I went through and trying to figure out how to heal. So my discovery was that my brain was stuck in this threat state, fight or flight. I couldn't calm down enough to do any healing because my nervous system was so dysregulated. So when you've been sick for years, your limbic system doesn't know how to respond, and you lose a lot of the capacity that your nervous system has to handle stress. So for me, everything became a threat. And let me know if you're someone who became sensitive to foods you used to eat with no problem. Or like smells were a big thing to me. Lights. I remember Costco and Walmart were like the two worst places because the particular lights they have, the fluorescence of them, and just like, I don't know if it's like the smells or what, but I could not enter those grocery stores without basically, I'd fainted a few times. I had gone in, gotten some stuff in a cart, and had to abandon my cart just because I was like, wow, my body's crashing. Like, heart rate's 190, like about to faint, sweating, cold sweat. And so everything that I did, my body saw it as another attack because it was so overloaded with trying to just keep me stable and keep me safe with all of the things going on. So the problem is you cannot heal your body in survival mode. You cannot heal during fight or flight because guess what? Your body is like, we need to run. That's making a decision. What do we need to do? Do we need to hide? Do we need to run? Do we need to fight? Do we freeze? That's another one. And fawn. That's another part of fight or flight, but it's not physiologically possible to do deep healing when your body is constantly hypervigilant, when you're like, what's the next symptom? Let me track all of them. Let me intellectualize this. Because if I think through why I'm sick and what triggered me, that's what's going to heal. And that's just not the case. If you're in fight or flight, your immune system's shutting down, your digestive system stops working because there's bigger threats that it needs to address. your inflammation increases. That causes a whole cascade of additional symptoms along with the root causes that you're already dealing with. So you can take all the right supplements, you can have the best practitioner, you can do all of these things, but if your brain thinks you're being chased by a tiger, and that's the state that you live in, then it doesn't matter what you're taking. So this is why protocols alone fail. Often once we find our root causes, we focus so much on killing, on infections and detox. Just get this out of me. If I know I have parasites, how do I do the deepest parasite work? What do I need to take? What do I need to do? But we ignore the fact that stress and trauma and nervous system dysregulation are also a piece that we need to address even before we start on this healing journey, or during. It doesn't matter. I mean, take it anytime you can fit it in. So I wanted to talk about things like childhood trauma, which is shown to increase autoimmune disease risk by a significant amount. I've seen some studies that show 70 to 80% on the ACE. If you have childhood trauma, you're more likely to get autoimmune diseases. Your unprocessed emotions, your attachment wounds, if you have people-pleasing patterns like I did, these are all things that are not just psychological. These are things that you need to address. They're keeping you sick. The best book I ever read to understand this was The Body Keeps the Score, and I'll link that in the comments, the show notes below. It's an amazing book that talks about this concept of like whatever you're going through, your body remembers, and these are all pieces that we need to address as we heal. So your tissues, your fascia, your nervous system, your organs, they're holding on to all these things that you have never processed. Here is what I did that actually helped me heal. I had to do 2 types of healing at the same time. One was physical. So one, I had to address infections, toxins. I had to address my gut health, focus on drainage so that all of these organs and body systems, were moving as we're detoxing. And then 2, I had to focus on the neurological, the emotional side, the mental side. I had to retrain my brain. I had to regulate my nervous system and process trauma. Otherwise, I was just stuck and I was spinning my wheels and I just wasn't making progress. And I really do believe this is a huge piece. And if you're just starting to look for a practitioner, I would start this now. I would start looking into how to regulate your nervous system, look into limbic system retraining. Watch Jill Bolte Taylor has an amazing TED Talk called My Stroke of Genius. She's a neuroscientist and she actually describes the whole experience of having a stroke and having to retrain her brain after, just to show that there is so much neuroplasticity in your brain, which is good and bad. It's bad in the fact that it's malleable and it's changeable if something traumatic happens. But the flip side of that is you have the capacity to create new neural pathways for yourself with your thoughts. And that's been proven in the science. So that's an amazing thing that not a lot of people know. It does take work and it does take repetition, and there's a certain way for you to do it. But it is possible to get your brain out of this fight or flight. And like I said, I do think addressing the physical is a vital piece. Of course, you can't just think your way out of it and be healthy. But having the 2 components and even starting with the mindset and the limbic system piece so that your compliance is increased and that you're able to receive these treatments and not be in a victim loop of poor me. Like, all my friends are on vacation, they're traveling, they're having kids, they're making these, huge accomplishments at work. And here I am, laying in my bed. I can't even cook for myself. So you have to pull yourself out of that victim mentality. And I was in it for probably a good year or 2. Like, this sucks. I'm so negative. I had the worst attitude about everything because I felt like it was so unfair. But then I started some brain retraining programs. I started tapping. EFT is a great thing to look into. I started EMDR, which is a really intense way to process trauma. There's also internal family systems, which I found incredibly helpful for processing some things that happened to maybe make me the type A, stress filled, always trying to be a perfectionist, which a lot of people that I know with chronic illness are. I had to learn boundary work. I had to learn to say no, to stop overgiving. I had to really work on my vagus nerve, breathing exercises, gentle movement, grounding, and confronting patterns that I was helping other people to my detriment because I care so much. I'm such an empath. So if, my husband's friend needed help moving and I hadn't been out of bed in 2 days, I would go and I would try to put on this brave face because I wanted so badly to be normal. And at that point, it just wasn't possible for me. So, what happened when I combined these physical protocols? I found great practitioners who believed me, who understood root causes, and then combined them with the brain and nervous system work. That's when everything started shifting. It wasn't overnight, but it was consistent and it was sustainable and it was something that I could maintain. There's going to be ups and downs in your healing always. You're not going to have a linear process, but if I mapped out my chart, it would be on an upward journey consistently after I combined those two, the physical and, the mental, emotional side of it, and also processing trauma. And that's what got me on an upward trajectory. So if you're listening to this as a patient and you are sick right now, I need you to hear me say these things. You are not broken. Your body wants to heal. It's not betraying you. It's actually trying to protect you and it's trying to get your attention. So if you shift your mindset to what is my body trying to tell me through this illness? What is it trying to communicate? What is it crying out for? You are not crazy. If doctors have dismissed you, if you felt gaslit, if anyone has told you it's just anxiety, they're wrong. And your symptoms are real, and you do have to figure out your root causes, figure out the right steps, the right order for you, but your body wants to heal. You have not tried everything. You might have tried a lot of protocols. You might have taken a lot of supplements and seen a lot of doctors, but have you done all the combinations with addressing your nervous system, with a deep limbic system repair practice, a brain healing blueprint, your trauma, your belief system? Do you believe you can heal? Do you believe it's possible? Do you believe you deserve to heal? And I want you to know this, that healing is possible. Not just managing your symptoms, not just learning to live with it, a full recovery. I'm living proof of that. I am 99% healed. I almost never have symptoms. I'm flying again. I had such severe hyperadrenergic pause. I've been taken off of flights off in an ambulance. I've almost had to do emergency landings. I've been put on oxygen. I've done all the things because travel for me, my body was so weak I couldn't handle it. So here's what you need to know in order to heal. Your healing will not be linear. You will have setbacks, you will have ups and downs, but that doesn't mean it's not working. So try to look at it, like I said, as an overall picture. Are you going up most of the time? Yes, you're going to have, you might have a Herx reaction. You'll just adjust. You might have some dips and some lows. There's peaks and valleys in healing, but that doesn't mean it's not working. Your protocol will not be my protocol. So stop comparing your journey to other people. That's one thing I had to learn is I was always on Facebook groups, for Lyme or mold toxicity. What is everyone taking? What are you doing? How did you heal? But what works for one person does not always work for another. We're such individuals. There's bio-individuality. We're a constellation of everything that's happened to us in our lives, what we believe, what our mindset is, our root causes, our environment, our toxins, our total toxic burden. There's so many components. Our genetics, that's not a be all end all, but that is a piece of it. Your timeline is your own, so let go of the pressure to be fixed by a certain date. Or I know we have so much curiosity of like, how long did it take you? How long am I going to have to sit in this body? But try to just take it day by day. Know that your body wants to heal. It's designed to heal. Your body is not against you. Your body wants this balance and this harmony. You just have to remove the barriers, both physical and emotional. So, what are the practical first steps? What can you do today if you're in survival mode? I would start with your nervous system. So, even just get on YouTube, look up 5 minutes of deep breathing, sit in the sun, pet your dog, look up vagal tone exercises. They're all free. It's splashing your face with cold water, or it's humming, or it's gargling. Start there and build up on that practice. Number two is don't complicate things. Keep it simple. You don't need 50 supplements. Focus on the essentials and then really dive into getting yourself in a healing mindset. Find one practitioner that you trust. This is number three. I know there's a temptation to doctor shop, to look around, to have second opinions everywhere. Oh, this doctor told me this. So, you're going to start getting into contradictions with protocols and you're not going to know who to follow. So, what I'm creating, and I'll talk more about this in a little bit, I have a patient archetype and I have a practitioner archetype. And then we're coming out with an app called Meet Your Healer. And this app is going to take into account, your beliefs, your needs, your root causes you're working on, what's important to you in a practitioner, and it's going to match you with a percentage match so you can stop wondering like who's the best person to work with me. Number four, celebrate your smallest wins. If you sat up for 10 minutes, that's amazing. If you're normally laying down in bed, if you got up and made yourself a green smoothie, incredible work. It's all going to be dependent on what's your normal and, what's a win, what's something that you can write down that's gratitude. My biggest shift came when I stopped tracking my symptoms and trying to figure out what I did to cause them. What time was it? What did I just eat? Did I not sleep last night? Where am I on my cycle? Like I was a detective 24 hours a day and that was exhausting. So celebrate your wins, celebrate your gratitude. Instead, it's a better use of your time, and what you are looking for is what your reality will be. Number five is surround yourself with hope. So find recovery stories, find the high vibration people who are going to lift you up. So there's this emotional guidance scale, which I talk about in some of my courses. And certain emotions have certain frequencies. Obviously, like joy and happiness and all those good ones are at the top. And then there's like fear, grief, shame, jealousy. They're dragging you down into this downward emotional spiral. So that's super interesting to look into. But surround yourself with people who are higher on that emotional guidance scale, who are going to be positive as you're going through your healing journey. And you may need to make hard decisions and cut people out of your life. You might. I had to, or people just left on their own and it's painful. Because you're still the same person. You're just, not able to do all the things you want to do. So just know that, people may leave, you may find and attract and magnetize people that are better fit for you and more supportive. Number six is give yourself permission to rest. This was really hard for me because I found so much of my self-worth in what I could accomplish, what I could achieve, what can I do for others. How many good grades can I get? Can I win at state in volleyball? Am I the best in everything that I do? And it was hard for me to rest because I felt like if I was resting, I wasn't worth anything. And so switching that mindset to who you are and your soul and who you are inside your body, your heart, that's what matters. It doesn't matter what you can do for people. Your worth is not innately built into your achievements. And that was a tough one for me. Resting without guilt. And then number seven is start doing gentle emotional work. Could be journaling. It could be finding a trauma-informed therapist. You could just do one appointment. I loved having an energy healer. She would clear beliefs from me, which is, it sounds woo, but it was, I feel like half talk therapy. Half of it was, do I have permission to clear this from you? And she would actually like figure out from what I'm saying, like what beliefs do I need to clear? And that was beautiful. If you have any questions on that, I can link that in the comments below as well. And most importantly, don't give up because you never know when you're right before a breakthrough. Sometimes people quit before they're about to see the shift and in the time frame that I normally see people shift. So just keep going. You never know when is going to be the last time you have that one particular symptom if you're just consistent and you keep doing the work. Now, if you are a practitioner listening, I also have a message for you because you got into this work to help people heal and you've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in education, CEUs, training, and you know your protocols work. But if you're watching patients, if you're seeing people do everything that used to work, which I hear all the time now with practitioners I work with, this protocol used to work and it's not working anymore. People are still struggling. Maybe you're starting to feel frustrated or hopeless or like you're missing something. I would love for you to recommend the Brain Healing Blueprint to your patients because that's what's keeping a lot of people sick. They come to you in fight or flight. They're hyper vigilant about every symptom. They're scared of food. They're scared of supplements. They're like, I can't detox. I react to everything. I can't even leave my house. They've been traumatized by the medical system. A lot of times, friends and family partners don't believe that they're sick and they don't feel safe in their own bodies. So, if you're not addressing that, your protocols can help them, but it can only take them so far. So it doesn't mean you need to become a therapist, but maybe find, a couple recommendations that you can point them to. Create safety in your practice and how you talk to them matters. Do they feel heard? Do they feel seen by you? Do they feel believed? Maybe educate them a little bit on the nervous system, some things they can do at home. Incorporating some nervous system regulation into the protocols is great. And then refer them out for any deep emotional work, trauma therapists, somatic healing, things like that. Most importantly is just holding hope for them when they lose it. Just be there, be consistent, encourage them that if you do the work and you put in the work, like you are going to see progress. And so practitioners too, I have a practitioner archetype. If you just go to upsellhelp.com/start, click if you're a patient, click if you're a practitioner. And we're creating a matching system so that practitioners can find people who want to work with them, who are a good fit. So if you're a data-driven practitioner, it's going to match you with people who care about lab work, who care about biometrics, aura rings, biohacking, like HRV, people that's valuable to them. So finding leads that way. And then, of course, patients, if you're sick, it's so hard to find someone who understands you and has the same beliefs as you. So you might be looking for a mystic cosmic who's really going to be heavy in the affirmations and emotional healing. And yes, protocols too, spiritual healing. You might want a phoenix who is a practitioner who's been through it themselves. That was really important to me when I was healing. I actually wanted to work with someone who had Lyme before and healed from it because I wanted to understand if I'm herxing and I'm this sick, you know what I've been through and you know when to push me and when to pull back. So it really just depends on your values, your framework, what you're looking for, your fears and motivations on both sides, the practitioner and the patient. So I'm really excited to hopefully soon be launching this practitioner-patient matching system. Now, the first step, if you want to hear about it when it launches, is just take the archetype. Take the practitioner archetype, take the patient archetype, depending on your journey, and we will send out an announcement as soon as that's ready. And we have a whole community we're building. And so practitioners, patients who need you, they're out there, they're sick, they're looking for answers, they're being failed by conventional medicine, and they can't necessarily find you. So this is going to resolve that problem. And like me, when I was sick, I had no idea who to work with. I felt so lost. I was Googling 3 a.m., like, who treats Lyme? At the time, really nobody did. So this is going to solve the issue that, I wish I had support with when I was sick and looking for someone to work with. So, sharing success stories, sharing a philosophy of healing, having it be compatible is really important and successfully helping, somebody get better. So that's what this podcast is about. This podcast exists because I do believe healing is possible, but I do think you need the nervous system support, the limbic system retraining, the high vibration. That was huge. I was stuck in such a low negative energy, negative vibration. And then I learned about the emotional guidance scale. I learned practices and things that would help elevate me. And that's when I saw true healing. I feel like we have been sold a lie that healing is just about killing infections and detoxing and taking supplements. And the lie is that if you just find the right physical protocol, you'll be fixed. But the truth is, healing is such a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual journey. It's not linear. It requires us to address all the layers of our very complex bodies, souls, minds, hearts, everything. So if you're listening and you're a patient, this podcast is going to give you hope if you're in the dark. There are going to be stories of people who have healed. I'm going to bring on only brands I really trust that helped me when I was sick, only practitioners that I have worked with. I've been in this industry in functional medicine for 12 years now. I was head of content at Cellcore Biosciences. I've worked with so many different supplement companies, practitioners, clinics, Dr. Jabin Moore, the Vegas Clinic, Siobhan Sarna, Sinclair Canale, Dr. Michael Karlfeldt, just so many, Dose for Your Liver, New BioAge, Premier Research Labs, Des Bio, just all brands in the space that I believe in. And I was VP of marketing and events, head of marketing at Microbiome Labs. So I've been in this space. I've gone through my own healing journey. And so I'm going to bring on practitioners and brands that I trust that helped me in my healing. And for practitioners, it's going to help you understand. We'll bring on patients who have healed, and by their practitioner archetype, what are they looking for? What helped them? What are the ways that they wanted to be spoken to? So in the app, you're going to have, the majority of your patients are these 3 archetypes. Come on the podcast, see the people who are that archetype and the match, and you'll understand better your healing and the way that you want to understand it. So it's going to help both patients and practitioners, and every episode is designed to give you both practical strategies, the hope you need to keep going, and it's going to be tagged with each archetype. So you can find practitioners who are your archetype you're looking for. Practitioners can look for patients if you know kind of what your split is, just to understand your avatar better. So because this is what I know, is that healing happens when we can combine research, cutting edge science, deep compassion, and some of this healing of our brain, when we treat the brain and the body, and when we honor both the physical and the emotional realm. And that is what magnetic and medicine is all about. And so I'm so glad you're here. I can't wait to get started and bring some more of these podcasts to you. So let me tell you a little bit about what I do now, because my healing journey completely changed the direction of my life. After I recovered, I knew I couldn't go back into corporate marketing. I had to use everything I learned, both as a patient and somebody who helped scale supplement companies from 30 million to 60 million, and help practitioners reach the people who need them. That's really my goal in this, is how do we match brands and practitioners to the people who need their work and their product and their healing? How do we help patients know who to work with and who to trust? So I work with practitioners who are doing real healing work, addressing root causes, functional medicine, helping people recover, and not just managing symptoms. So I help them clarify their message so it resonates with sick people, create content that is hopeful and is trustworthy, and developing marketing strategies that are authentic. So a couple of things for practitioners. I have done for you marketing services where we handle everything from strategy, creating the content, just doing it all for you. You can offload it all to us. I have DIY marketing courses. I have one, the Wellness Empire Blueprint, that if you can't afford a company or you don't want to outsource it, you can learn exactly how to tackle marketing. And it's broken up into modules. So there's 1 month on social media, 1 month on email marketing, lead magnets, podcasts, all of these pieces. And then, of course, for patients, this podcast is a great way to see what's going to help you move the needle. Free, accessible hope, stories of healing, community connection coming soon, and of course, your archetypes. So beyond the business, beyond the marketing, this is a really important podcast to me because it's so personal. And the name Magnetic and Medicine is just everything that I believe about healing. I think Magnetic because healing should pull you forward. It shouldn't push you down that emotional guidance scale into shame or fear. That's when you get stuck and you don't move the needle. And practitioners should be magnetic to the patients who need them through their marketing. Hope is magnetic. Authenticity and, someone who's genuine, that's magnetic, and that's what we're building here. And then in medicine, meaning we need a complete revolution on how medicine is practiced. We need functional medicine to become mainstream. We need practitioners who actually address root causes to be accessible and to be findable. And these brands, like, I just want to create a hub that treats the whole person, body, brain, emotions, spirit, and then it's easy for you to find each other so that people can heal faster. So magnetic in medicine is about hope. It's about believing recovery is possible. We don't have to just live with managing our symptoms. It's about truth. It's about myth busting. It's about uncovering, things that were told as lies in this industry and being honest about what really works. It's about connection. I would love to build community. I was so lonely when I was sick. So building a community so no one has to heal alone, that's a huge piece of it. And is about empowerment, so giving both patients and practitioners tools they need. So I would love with you to start a revolution about changing how we think about chronic illness and healing. This podcast, Magnetic in Medicine, is a love letter to everyone who has been dismissed by the medical system, whether you're a patient trying to heal, whether you're a practitioner who's raising your hand and saying, I don't think that's the cause of this. I think we need to look into this root cause or this toxin or chemical. It's my battle cry for practitioners who are doing the real deep work, and it's my commitment to telling the truth about healing. So all of the messy, non-linear, and beautiful truths that come along with healing from chronic illness. And I'm so grateful that you are here for all of it. So if you head to upsellhealth.com/start, you'll be able to pick if you're a patient or practitioner. You can subscribe to this podcast. I'll give you updates. Share it with someone who needs hope right now. DM us on Instagram and tell us your story. We read every single message. It's Upsell Health on Instagram. If you're a practitioner, also subscribe. Share this with your patients. Visit upsellhealth.com and see how we can work together. Let's get your message out there so people can find you. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. And just remember, healing is possible, full recovery is possible, and don't give up. I'm Allie Chandler. This is Magnetic and Medicine, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye.